you've ever bowled before, you probably know the joyful feeling of rolling a strike. But do you know where that feeling comes from? Do you know the deep history of a sport that's played by 70 million Americans today? Well, by the end of this presentation, you will. Today I'm going to speak about bowling. Now, most of my information is going to be coming from bowlingball.com, pba.com, and bowling.com. I'm going to be speaking about the history of bowling, techniques and styles, and the impact of bowling today. Now, we can trace the early history of bowling back to ancient Egypt around 5000 BC. We have pictures and hieroglyphics showing the ancient Egyptians using stone balls to knock down various objects, much like the game we know and love today. Now, America's history with bowling starts around 1670. We have depictions of Dutch immigrants teaching the colonists how to play the game. Now, in the 1820s, the popularity of bowling really spiked in America. With gambling being popular, bowling was a very big gambling sport, and it became quite a fortunate sport. Now, in 1895, the American Bowling Congress made universal rules for the game. Before this, all across the country, people were playing the same game just with very different rules. So the American Bowling Congress came together to create universal rules. Now, in the 1950s, with the popularization of the television, bowling got its first broadcast on NBC. And soon after, in 1958, the Professional Bowling Association was founded. That's still the premier league for bowling today. Now, in 1971, the PBA held its first U.S. major, which was the U.S. Open, which is still held today. Now that you know a little bit about the history of bowling, let me tell you about the intricacies of the game. Now, the object of the game is to roll the ball down the lane and hit all 10 pins. Now, ideally, you want to do this in one shot. If you can get it in one shot, it's called a strike. If it takes you two shots to knock down all the pins, it is called a spare. You also have different techniques in the game. You have one-handed bowling, which is popular among casual bowlers, and some professional bowlers can also bowl one-handed. But one popular form of bowling that has really earned a lot of popularity recently is two-handed bowling. With two-handed bowling, you get a lot more revolutions per minute on the ball, which makes the ball hit the pins with more action and knocks them everywhere. It makes it much easier to hit strikes. Now, you also have two other different styles, straight bowling and spin bowling. Most casual fans and casual players will just bowl straight, but almost all professional bowlers bowl with spin. They want it to arc across the lane, and it hits in the pocket, and it makes striking much easier. Now, you also have different ball materials. This ball that I have here is a urethane ball. Now, urethane balls you will find mostly in just bowling alleys. So the house balls at bowling alleys are usually made out of urethane. Now, professional bowlers also will use urethane balls, but mainly in order to pick up spares. Now, urethane doesn't have as much hook on it, so they can roll it straight down the lane without any hook. Now, you also have other materials like reactive revo and others that have a lot more hook, and usually the professional bowlers will use those as their strike balls. Then you also have your bowling shoes. Now, if you're a right-handed bowler, when you release the ball, you're going to plant with your left foot, and you don't want to stick. So bowling shoes on the left foot for right-handed bowlers have this kind of slick material on them that keep you from just sticking on the ground. You also have lane oil patterns that vary across lanes. Now, most bowling alleys are going to have the same lane pattern on every single lane. Usually it's going to be a little bit of oil on the edges and then a lot of oil in the middle. That is an optimal lane pattern for bowling strikes. Now, in different bowling tournaments, you're going to have varying lane patterns. It's a lot like golf. In golf, you have to play your course. In bowling tournaments, you're going to have to play your lane. And you also have to play because the ball is going to pick up oil, so the lane pattern is ever changing. There's always going to be less and less oil on it. Now, while the rules of the game haven't changed in the past 100 years, the impact of the game has. Now, 70 million Americans play at least once a year, and 3 million are members of leagues. So they play at least once a week, typically. Now, the PBA, the Professional Bowling Association, has also had a huge impact on the game. They have 4 U.S. majors every single year, and those still go on today. As a matter of fact, the Players' Championship is actually going to be happening this upcoming Saturday. And the PBA also has gained television recognition for the bowling community. Now, all the majors are televised. They have a deal with Fox Sports, so you'll see them usually about every Sunday. Now, bowling has evolved from throwing stones in Egypt. From its deep history to the intricacies, bowling is one of the most complex sports.